Eastern Wild Podcast, elevating the experience. And now, your host, Brandon and Ricky. Welcome, everyone. This is the very first ever number 10 podcast for Eastern Wild. We are a Kentucky-based deer hunting outfit. This is our very first show.
You can't leave out the turkey hunting, man.
Well, hey, yeah, that's part of it too. I'm still trying to buy into that whole thing, right? But yeah, we're just kind of gonna play this first episode by ear. We're gonna wing it, so to speak. We're two guys basically who grew up together, best friends since we were like 4 years old, and we've had a deer hunting background most of our lives, and gonna do for many years. Never been able to do it, and we're finally in a position to where we can. So we said, you know what? Why not? So here we are. We've always wanted to do a show of some sort, and this is our first go at it. So everyone can bear with us here while we get everything unfolded. Basically, wanted to give the listeners, and first of all, an insight of what we're about, what we're doing here. Basically, we're an Eastern Kentucky-based deer hunting channel. We're going to film hunts. We're going to go over gear that we use. We're going to do gear demos online, things of that nature. But in general, in a nutshell, we're kind of focusing on Kentucky deer hunting in and of itself. We're not fortunate enough yet to do a lot of traveling. We sincerely hope we get there.
Absolutely.
But as for now, the focus is going to be on just a camaraderie and a big focus on what it's like to hunt in Kentucky. And first and foremost, my name is Brandon Mobley, and my other buddy here is
Ricky Bostic.
He's pretty much he's the face of it. You'll see him doing all the gear demos and whatnot. And I'm just the other guy that does, hopefully, all the booner killing.
Yeah. Leave all the work to me, man.
He'll kill all the booner turkeys, I'm sure, and I'll just film him doing that. And I say all that to say he has me beat severely on whitetails as we speak. So, yeah, there's that.
That's not, you can't say that like that, man. It's not like that.
So we'll get to this. We'll get into this in depth later on at another date. But I'm just going to preface this by saying he killed a high 140 class 8-pointer last year.
My target deer.
So
yeah,
that's all I'm going to say about that. I mean, who gets 148 inches out of an 8-pointer? That's just beyond me.
That's very true.
That's insane.
Very true.
That's To me, that is more impressive than killing a 160-inch 10.
Well, everybody we show the pictures to, and even, Randy Newsom up at 3R Archery, and we took that deer to him like it was just, he's like, man, this is an absolute stud.
Yeah.
Like it just you don't see 8 points get that big very often.
That's right. And just the girth of it, the bases of the deer, how big his body was, his age class that I think he was in.
I wish I'd have sent his jaws off, man.
Yeah, because I would bet that deer was minimum 4. I'm thinking like 5 or 6.
Yeah, I was thinking 5, 6. Yeah.
Big hoofs, short
least.
legs, long body. Dark pigment on the rack, just long face, big nose. It had all the telltale signs of a big deer. But we will do an episode on that deer, I think, more in depth of how it all unfolded, because it's one heck of a story by any deer hunter standards.
It went from early spring.
Yeah.
And we'll save that for that show, but it went from early spring up until mid-November.
Yeah, and it was how it ended was unbelievable.
I mean, it ended like you want it to.
I don't know if you...
And we were together.
Yeah, we were, which was cool. It was on a whim thing, and I just don't know if any deer hunter would ever... I mean, the way that happened was unbelievable, to say the least.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we'll definitely dedicate a show to that kill. It was a deer that is a memorable deer. If he never kills another one, it's enough to last a lifetime, because it was an unbelievable deer.
Yeah.
So, basically, we hunt in what basically is the Appalachian Mountains here where we live. He's in the very eastern part of the state. I'm in the southern eastern part of the state. The terrain is very similar. His terrain is mine, but on steroids. We hunt a lot of mule faces, you know, swags, hollers, as they say, low gap, you know, high terrain here. There's hardly anything flat. I mean,
No, there's not.
there's-
We're in mountain country.
that's right. Big woods here and there, you know, just mountain country through and through. You know, you're lucky to have logging roads, and if you do, it's amazing. If you don't, it is rough,
Yeah.
right? And what I like to say is, where we live, mature deer, even if it's a 3.5-year-old, is a trophy because there are so many places for these big deer to hide.
Oh, and they're
Right.
and they're escapes, man.
And
Like,
they become elusive in the fact that you just simply can't get to them, right?
we lack mastering them as a hunter, and they master evading us.
Exactly.
It makes it extremely difficult to kill these deer.
It's
in
like
the
trying
mountains.
to jump in the ocean and kill a shark.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
Right? You're just, everything's against us. All the odds are against us. And just for me personally, I've yet to kill a deer over 115. And that's really bad because I started deer hunting, which opens up the next part of this show. My background as a hunter, we can just start that from here. As a little boy, I watched my dad deer hunt. My grandpa had about 150 acre plus farm where I grew up on from about age probably 3 till I was about 9 or 10. No, I guess I was 10. So 3 to 10, I lived on a farm out in the country here in Kentucky up on a hill, and the farm was back in behind there. We had a barn, the whole deal. They raised tobacco, pretty steep terrain, just one small field that couldn't have been 80 yards, 100 yards. Then it went into mountainside, and there was 3 levels of that farm. We had a top level, which we built like a 6x6 wooden stand that overlooked a big deep hollow on the neighboring property.
Awesome stand, by the way.
It was great. We took trees and we cut them down, and they sacrated them in, and we carpeted the bottom. We roofed it with a tarp. It was just great. It was great for me to get up in the morning really early with my dad and get on the 4-wheeler and get up there and get set down and just go to sleep.
Yep. And I have some stories from that place too.
And that all started for me. My dad hunted from probably 88, which is when I was born, onward. And I saw him bow hunting mostly throughout my life. He did rifle hunt, but his heart always seemed to be with the bow. He always had a certain hat he would wear when he would bow hunt and when I saw that hat on the bar, I knew that he meant business because he was bow hunting, right? It was like I'm not sure how to describe it, kind of Indiana Jones, but it was camo, and it was like a fisherman's hat, I guess.
Yeah, kind of like a boonie hat.
Yeah, and it was a boonie hat. That's exactly what it was. That's
Yeah.
what I was looking for. And when I saw that hat, I knew that it was on, right?
Yeah.
Deer hunting's great, and shooting deer with a rifle is great, but man,
There's nothing that compares to bow hunting.
But I kept noticing, his eyes would light up, and everything would get different when it was bow time. And I kept seeing this year after year, and he would bring deer in that he'd killed, and him and my Uncle Aaron and friends, they were big into bow shooting just in general. We had big targets out in the backfield by the barn, and I would watch him as a kid shoot, in competition and just habitually with his friends and with his brother, and I would always be out there with him, pulling the big, thick aluminum arrows of the time. And, they would break and split and all that.
You'd have to be careful pulling them out too because they bend.
Oh, yeah, man. I got so many cuts from, shavings of those things and the big primitive fletchings they had, and watching him refletch them with the little jigs in my living room and all that. It was such great memories seeing all that. And I remember at the time, Jennings was really big. And
That was both of our first bows.
That's right.
Yeah.
And my dad always had a Jennings, and I think in about 97, I got a bow. A Jennings Dimension is what it was.
Yeah.
And I shot it for 6 months or so. And in 1998, season opener, it was very hot. It was, early September. He took me to the bottom level of our farm back there we had a couple of home-built stands that were probably 18 feet off the ground, and they were wooden. We had the old-style spikes drove in the tree, and when you got up there, you had a wooden stand to hunt out of. And there may have been a lock-on or two as well, but he had a stand over about 50 yards from me, and I had a stand in another tree off this trail that came through the center of this little point we were hunting off the edge of this field. And the deer would work their way down in the evening. Right before they would get to that field, they'd have to go right by us. So in September of opener and bow season, I was 10 years old, and my first deer hunt that evening, a doe and a young fawn come out, and they stopped maybe 20 yards in front of my tree, and I shot the heart out of the fawn. That was my first deer hunt. Arrow stuck in the ground, perfect heart shot. So a bit of deer hunting beginner's luck was with me there, but it was a small deer. I'll never forget it. It weighed 35 pounds, field dressed. But I was 10 years old, and I just killed a whitetail deer with my bow, and that is what started the fire.
That's
for
huge.
Me. That
huge.
was for me. I mean, I didn't even kill a deer with a gun first. It was with a bow. And
in fairness, any deer with a bow is a trophy.
Yeah. It was a fawn, and I mounted it. I was proud of that deer, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of my backstory of where I came from. It started with the influence of my dad, obviously, and learning to shoot bow through him, and developing a love for whitetail and bow at a very early age, 10 years old, and I'm 36 about to be now, and I'm still here.
Yeah.
So, and now I guess, Ricky, what's a little bit of the background of your hunting experience?
It's around this, you and I are the same age. You're a few months older than I am.
Yep.
And like Brandon said, we grew up together and did a lot of the same stuff, but what really, I guess, piqued my interest was my dad he got into deer hunting a little bit and also turkey hunting. And I remember specifically he would come to school and pick me up, and he would say, "Come look what I got in the back of the truck," and he would have like deer targets.
Oh,
and
cool,
I was thinking that he was opening the tailgate to show me a big deer that he'd put on the ground,
Yeah.
But I was always excited to see him come, and it was that white Ford. I'm sure you remember it. And
I do.
Yeah, it's but that kind of piqued my interest with hunting, man. He took me out some as a youngster when I was probably 8 or 9 years old, around that same mid to late 90s time frame. And as I got older, sports kind of took a back burner to me, and I really got into hunting. I mean, that was my passion. And I remember specifically there was we had just moved, and to kind of give the backstory of how we grew up together, I moved. My dad took a new job, and we moved about an hour and a half away. So when we moved, I think that's really when my I guess just my hunting interest kind of peaked again, and it was around my freshman year of high school. And my mom was out of work at the time. She'd gotten hurt, and my dad was, we were a single income family at that time, and he worked a lot of overtime. So he wasn't home much. I didn't see him a whole lot at that point. And our really good friend, Johnny, man, he had moved in close to where I was living at the time, and I had no clue what I was doing in the woods. Zero.
Sure.
Like, I was clueless.
Sure.
But I wanted
stages.
Yeah, I wanted to be in the woods, and they were building a log cabin, which I ended up kind of helping him build it. But I seen his truck parked in their driveway, and I noticed he had a really big sticker on the back of his window that said, "This bow hunter makes a difference." I was like, "Oh wow!" Like, that really struck me. It's like,
Wow.
I saw that and made that connection. So I went up there and I talked to him, and I introduced myself, and I told him, I'm just a little 14-year-old kid that really wants to hunt, and he took me right in under his wing, and he pretty well has shown me about everything I know in the woods. So that kind of started that. He was with me when I killed my first deer, and that was on a WMA around where we live, and I killed it during gun season on the youth weekend for firearms. and it was a doe. And, you know, that was a trophy to me, even though, I blew its lungs out with a 7 mag. But that was a trophy to me. And then the following year, I killed my first buck with a bow.
Got you. And what year would that have been?
All right, so that would have been around the year of 2005.
First buck with a bow.
Yeah, first buck with a bow. And he was a little 7-point, little basket rack 7-point. And Johnny, we kind of went up in the mountains and we split ways, and he went one way and I went another, and he'd picked the tree for me and everything. He set me up for success.
And during this time, what stands were you using? Climbers?
All I've used is climbers.
So that's your whole background is climbing.
Until now.
That's cool.
The past couple of years, I've really gotten deep into saddle hunting, but I come from a summit tree stand. And back in the day, if that's safe to say,
they were the cream of the crop.
Well, no, but I was using an API. That's what Dad had that he used, so I was using an API tree stand. That was at the time, in the early 2000s, that late 90s, early 2000s, that was the stand to have.
Absolutely.
I think Summit may have come a little bit afterwards, but
honestly, even by today's standards, they're still very comfortable.
Yeah. So that kind of jump started my career in the woods, man, and I've really taken a strong liking to it. And like Brandon said, we're in a season of our lives now to where we have time for this, and I've actually retired from work at a young age, which is almost unheard of, but that gave me the option and the ability to dive deep into this. And, Brandon's a business owner, so he can work around and get the time that he needs. And, we're just kind of going to this head first, just diving straight in, and we're loving every second of it. So,
yeah, man. And just talking about this in general, sends back so many other good childhood memories, and I know you'll share, growing up as a kid, watching Will Primos and David Blanton, and the list goes on, right? Mm-hmm. It was just amazing, Waddell and whatever. And, I never dreamed there'd come a time, but I could kind of get a glimpse of what that would be like.
Yeah.
Right. It's took so long to get culture to where it is, to where there's product that we can buy, we can do this. But I really looked up to those guys and thought it was just amazing being able to watch film deer hunting. So I've always wanted to take the time to do this, have the ability to do it, and all of that. So we've pretty much touched on the opening bit about our background as hunters. And obviously we both have a heavy passion for it. Basically, too, in the springtime, we'll obviously do turkey hunting content, both filming and podcast, and obviously all through deer season. Ricky Kyle here. His middle name's Kyle, by the way. His mother calls him Rick Kyle, but that's another story.
She does. Yeah.
But he's the guy for the birds, as they say, the turkey birds. But this year, I'm going to first film him, so I'm going to be part of the action, watch it unfold, and then maybe take the gun myself and do it.
Yeah, this past turkey season, the April 2024 season, I got a lot of good content on the channel.
Oh yeah, it's the first first content we have. It's on Eastern Wild's channel on YouTube.
Yeah,
and the way he does it, he's mountain hunting here. He's not hunting a blind on the edge of a field here, which there's nothing wrong with that approach. It's a great approach. We're going to do it today with whitetail. The point is, a lot of this channel is to just highlight the beautiful terrain and places that we hunt here and how you have to approach these animals. How he does it is very intense and entertaining, honestly, but it's how you have to hunt mountain birds. It's done a certain way. It's high energy. It's go get it. Let's go. Let's do this.
And a lot of people struggle with it.
Well, they do.
I have so many people that come to me that struggles with, man, how do you do it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's just an art that you learn.
Yeah, it's one of those things that where the experience of it, just literally going out and doing it, nothing gets in. You just got to go do it. You got to go mess it up. You've got to go, mess up 3 or 4 times before you get it right. You just have to do it. And I think if people would give it a chance, they would probably be hooked, myself included.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm a naysayer. I don't think my heart will pump at all when I see a bird.
I'm going to call it right now and say.
But this is on record, so.
I think you're going to eat those words.
I think he's probably right, because my dad was the same way. He hardcore deer hunter, passion for the whitetail, and always said, hey, I just don't see what the big fuss is about here with these ugly birds.
Yeah.
And his best friend was an avid bird hunter, turkey hunter as well, and was always picking at him, trying to get him to go. And he's like, you know what? I'll just go. He went with him one time, got his mind blown, and says to this day that a hot turkey hunt is amazing.
It is.
He says, arguably higher than a whitetail. That's really hard to say out loud.
Yeah.
But it's from the horse's mouth.
Yeah.
We
got to mention Mo Campbell's name, man.
Yes, Mo
Can't
Campbell.
Let that get away from us.
He is deceased now. He was my dad's longtime good friend. He was an archer and a very, very good archer, one of the best around in our community.
As is his son.
Little Mo, who we'll probably have on the show at some point. They've always just been around, all of our lives. Mo was a great guy. He's passed away now. He was a local taxidermist and honestly one of the best.
He mounted my deer.
Yeah, I mean, he's mounted all our deer. Some of the mounts he had done were amazing. I think he made a few magazines throughout the years. Just a great guy to be around, avid deer hunter. Yeah, he was definitely worth a mention there. My dad misses him greatly.
I can't imagine. When you got tight-knit buddies like that,
and they share that woodsmanship together and went on multiple hunting trips together and all that. So, basically, that's a background of us individually on this deer hunting thing, where we came from, what type of hunting we've always done. We've both done a fair bit of bow hunting and a fair bit of gun hunting, obviously.
Yeah.
Eastern wild, obviously, we're out there in the wild and we're in the eastern part of the state, so that's where the name comes from. It's a really cool approach, we thought.
Oh, we went back and forth with it, man.
Yeah, it's
and
tough
logos, it's developed a lot since.
Yeah.
Since, what would you say, the beginning part of 2024?
Yeah. Once we come up with this, we threw a lot of things around and we kind of landed on that name. But we really wanted to highlight where we're from, where we came from, and it's a beautiful place, and it's got challenging deer hunting.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Which leads me to my next little bit here. Basically, the quest we're on this year, we're gonna go over our current upcoming goals for this deer season. It's September 30th today. For the first time, I have finally gotten a farm leased here in the state.
Yes.
So we've been extremely excited about this.
It's rejuvenated your dad.
It has. My dad's love for hunting, when we lost that farm I was discussing earlier, we've not really had a great place to call home as far as call home to hunt. And once we got this, it's really sparked his interest again. But it's a much flatter terrain with some rolling hills. It's a 100-acre farm, and there's hardly any high elevation. We've been used to this high terrain stuff. Deer can hide everywhere. It's just tough getting in and out. Access is tough, in and out. We've got 19 cameras and 19 feeding locations, it seems, lock-on saddles, whatever.
Yeah.
We've poured our heart and soul into it all summer. We got the lease around late July, early August. It's about a 2-hour commute for us, 4-hour for Ricky, but we've been down there several times, and we've never been more prepared for a deer season, maybe ever.
Yeah, I would say that's
maybe
pretty
ever.
accurate, yeah.
And my dad, once we lost that farm we discussed earlier when I was a kid, we've never really had a place to call home, but I would say it was in the caliber of hunting like we had. So my dad's just kind of been on the sidelines for many years on hunting. So this has really rejuvenated his passion for this, and he's as excited for it as we are, I feel like, maybe even more so.
Yeah.
But he just enjoys being out there, and that's another thing about deer hunting. We all love to kill, bucks and big bucks, whatever, but, where we're at, and maybe no matter where you're at, just being out there is enough, really, and getting to harvest the animal is just icing on the cake.
Yeah.
And as far as my personal goals for the year, I'm still in my 30s, so I'm playing the numbers game. Like I said, I've never killed anything above 115 at this point, which is insane considering how long I've hunted, how right I've hunted, and how many deer I've killed. I mean, I've killed many deer, but not many good deer. I shot a couple of decent, what I thought were decent bucks at an outfitter the last couple of years I was at in the western part of the state. And it was one of those classic stories where, you know, a good buck comes in 8:30 in the sun. He's 240 out in the bean field. And you're like, man, he's on the sunny side and that white rack is just glaring. I'm like, man, that's a 130 class deer.
Yeah. Easily done.
And I shoot him and he runs 40 yards and drops. And I'm just so pumped, you know, just over the moon, right? You know, call the guide. We get down there and, hey, it was a great deer. It was a massive body deer. But, you know, he nets one or he grosses 115. It's like, oh. And it's not that it wasn't a good deer, because it was. But at this point in my life, I'm after mature whitetail deer. And when I say mature, I mean 130 or better. So for me as a deer hunter, where I'm at, I'm looking this year to shoot 130 class inch whitetail. That's where I'm at. I don't care how we do it. Bow, gun, bazooka, whatever. Slingshot, whatever. But my biggest trophy is 115, so everybody can see why I'm there, you know. So It's a monkey I've got to get off my back. Now, I say that to say, today, it's September 30th, and we're about to go down to this farm to do an all-day sit, basically. Well, an all-evening, midday sit. And
on the tail end of this hurricane that came through, so it's on the end of this front.
Yes, we had a big front all week. You know, it's been a lot of rain, a lot of wind. These deer have been kind of bedded down a lot, so we're hoping we can get a lot of movement today. It's just overcast and a high of 73 or something, so it should be a good day.
And prayers for all the people that's affected in that, man.
Yeah, it was a lot of damage and a big deal. So Mother Nature can be brutal. I hope we never have to see anything like that here. So the plan is to knock out a doe today. There's so many on this farm. For some reason, all the bucks that I know are there are not showing up. I'm kind of discouraged. We had a bachelor group that had at least 2 shooters in it in mid-August.
One that I venture to say is close to 150 inches.
Yeah, there's a 150-inch 10 in there. There's another 9 or 8 in there that I saw this morning that I hadn't never really analyzed. It's probably around 135. And another couple 8-pointers are probably Pope and young deer that were in that group that I have not seen virtually since.
Yeah.
But I know they're there. Now, I say that to say, there is one mature buck that has been on our cameras literally every other couple days this whole season. We've watched this deer since I got this farm. He's a decently masked 8-point, but his G3 on one side is really small, so that kind of hurts the score. The spread is about 15, 16 inches the most. Not crazy time length, but he's a big old mature buck.
We think he's on the decline.
We think this deer's on the decline. He's got authority when he walks. He's like the big chew on the mountain. Every posture he's doing on my videos, on my cameras, and he's just messing with deer, running deer off. We potentially think this deer single-handedly could be why we're not getting many buck movement on these cameras. You know, I know the biologists tell us that mature whitetails are not territorial on their core area. You know, maybe, but I think there's a little bit of something going on because there's just too many bucks that I know are in there that we're not getting on camera.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, what I say to that to say is if I get a shot at this deer today in bow range and he grosses 118, oh well.
It goes back to anything with a bow as a trophy.
I know. And I would like to preface all this also by saying my previous deer that I shot that were 115 and 112, whatever they were both gun kills. My biggest buck to date with a bow was a 10-inch spike on either side.
Well, I don't want to give people a bad taste in their mouth. Like we're not out here. I mean, yeah, we'd love to kill booners. We'd love to. Everybody would.
We'd love to kill 140
but
inch
I
deer.
think the biggest stigma amongst deer hunters is their deer's too small.
I know.
And you know that's and I'm not saying that's what you're saying. I'm just saying like I don't want people to think that we're going to.
It's not the focus.
Down them if they shoot a smaller deer because it's not about that. It's about being in God's creation and enjoying the peace. because
That's
when
right.
I'm in the woods, it gives me a peace that I've never experienced anywhere else. Maybe other than church,
Yeah, sure.
obviously. But a lot of people say that the woods are their church. It's a place where you can, just be to yourself and even self-reflect.
Yeah, man.
And the score of the antlers isn't necessarily all it's about.
Yeah.
But we are at a phase in our life where we want to kill bigger deer.
Because we're in our mid-30s. We're kind of in our body's prime.
Yeah.
We're able to get out there and go after it.
Yeah.
Right. And you're totally right, man. More than ever, our culture is obsessed with score.
Yeah, and it hurts people's feelings.
Yeah, because, man, at the end of the day and in the heat of the moment, what you're feeling, that's real.
Yeah.
And what that animal's bone scores is honestly meaningless.
Yeah. And you also have to think, we have so much time that we're able to put into this now.
Mm-hmm.
Like you take these guys, we live in the heart of East Kentucky, man. You take a lot of people working the coal mines.
That's right.
And that's working 6 days a week, 12-hour shifts. You've got Sundays off. Like, you've got one day to hunt. So I'm sure those guys aren't being as picky and as choosy as we would be.
True.
True. So I say, like, people need to not knock on people for killing what they kill.
100%.
That's a way that turns people away from it.
Of course. And everyone, I will have to clarify, I just simply, I'm at this point because I've been lucky enough to deer hunt a lot, and I've been lucky enough to be in a lot of good places, and I've just, as every deer hunter, we all have a ultimate goal, right?
Absolutely.
We all have one, and my goal is to exceed Pope and Young, preferably with a bow. That's just kind of where I'm at. It's good to have goals, but look, that does not mean I wouldn't enjoy and appreciate shooting a 115-inch deer again, because I would.
If it gets your heart pumping, that's all that matters.
And honestly, if we take a doe today, she'll probably get me going.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. You'll have an itchy trigger finger, man.
But no,
sure.
Please, everyone, hopefully people do enjoy and are listening to this. But if you do, please don't misunderstand me. I'm not number hunting here. I'm just simply, I have a whitetail in mind that I would love to get my hands on. I feel like I've put a lot of work in over the years, and it's just kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, and it all comes down to the phase of life that you're in.
It does.
It does.
It does. My dad, he's killed 135-inch 9. He's killed a Pope and Young 10. Both with gun.
Yeah.
And he's just to the point to where, he's almost 60 now, and he's getting to the point to where he just wants to be out there. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And he enjoys it, man.
If I kill a deer, he's like, man, it's gravy on the cake, whatever.
Yeah.
Icing on the cake.
I don't know how good gravy would be on cake.
Not good. Now, McDonald's, real good.
Yeah.
I like that white gravy.
I'm a gravy and biscuit guy.
Yeah, not that brown gravy.
Like, my mom Mary's gravy and biscuits.
You like
my mom's gravy and
There you go. There you go.
It's that southern homemade gravy.
Oh,
biscuit,
yeah.
man.
I'm starving now.
Fried apples.
Oh.
Sausage.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah, that's a whole nother deal about southern eating. So
Yeah.
we want it's got me higher size pants than I really want to be in. So
Yeah, I'm a little overweight.
yeah, whatever. So anyway.
You only live once, man.
It's true.
So anything that's good for you is going to kill you. And anything that's bad for you is going to kill you. So what the heck, as far as my goals for the year, for this season specifically.
Yeah.
I'm a little disheartened right now because I'm on private property back home. And last year was my first year with it. I used to hunt my buddy's property, and it was sold, so I had to find new ground. And this property that I've acquired, it butts up to my family's property. So I'm very thankful to the owners for sharing that land with me and let me live out my passion there. But I just became familiar with it last year, and man, I showed all of these pictures and videos to Brandon and his dad, Phil. Like, I had so many good deer on that property last year. Like, I would venture to say 6 shooters.
It was insane.
Yeah. Named them all. The one that I took out was the hit lister. I named him Captain Hook, the Big 8. But what's kind of got me down this year is those bucks aren't there, and they were there early spring, like late April, early May. Those deer, I watched them grow their antlers day by day, man. And this year they're not there, and I don't think it's really so much hunting pressure. I really don't, and and I don't think it's them getting killed off. I could be wrong, but there's a reason that they're not back, and I can't figure out why.
Yeah, and I sincerely hope whatever reason that is the same reason I'm not getting any other bucks either.
Yeah. Well, we know they do their fall shift.
They do.
But what I'm saying is I didn't have these deer early season.
Which is versus last year.
Yeah.
You did. So
when I did.
There's some kind of difference in what they're eating. It's some kind of mast that they're eating.
I've got a heavy 7-point. I would say he's maybe 125 to 130.
He's a good deer. Big body.
He's a mature deer.
Oh yeah.
But he's hit his shift. We were hunting on the lease opening weekend, and he was there in daylight. So that would have been my time to strike on him. But he's not really been back consistently since. He's showed maybe a handful, probably 10 times that he showed up, and it just I'm hoping that late October and early November really heats my woods up back home. And with that, I guess my goal for the season is to just learn. I don't proclaim to be an awesome deer hunter, and I'll say it. I have no problem saying I'm a whole lot better turkey hunter than I am a deer hunter. I feel like a lot of my deer hunting has boiled down to luck. It don't just happen.
Sure.
So I just want to continue to learn. We dive deep into articles, we read. It'd be scary to go back on my YouTube and look at the analytics and see just how much view time that it shows that I've had screen time on YouTube. And it's looking at deer hunting stuff.
Yeah, we're students of it. I read so many biological based articles, and every little thing I can feed on, man, just trying to figure these animals out. And they're such an interesting and majestic animal, and in particular, the mature bucks, right?
Yeah,
and those are too, but they're so much more consistent and patternable. They're a very different animal, really, than a 3.5+ year old buck.
Yeah, and we'll get into the details of in another show of how they're different and everything.
But chasing your tail as a grown man trying to go after these deer is, dare I say, similar to playing golf. It just you can never master it, and it's day in and day out, right?
I'm pretty terrible at golf.
Yeah, well, I used to be good at golf, but anyway, fairly good, but whatever.
Yeah, it's fun though.
It's a great time. It really is.
Yeah.
It's a lot more fun if you drink, but
yeah,
which I don't. So that's why I quit playing golf.
I don't anymore. So my goals for the year, honestly, is to just learn, and also to just kill another heavy horn deer. Man, that's my desire. I desire to do that. I would like
to see you get one with a bow.
Yeah, I'd love to, good. Man. Yeah.
Me, I'm willing to take it however it's coming.
Yeah. Well, both of my big deer, I've got a 135-inch deer.
That's right.
That I killed with a gun. That was back in 2016, and then
and then this giant last year.
Had some personal things happen in my life and around 2017, so I took a break from about 2017 to 2020 and just didn't fool the woods much at all. But I got back into it, and then I killed this deer. What was it, 2023 last year with my
in November?
Gun. Yeah.
Yep.
So I don't have, I've got some smaller, maybe 110-inch.
2.5-year-olds.
Yeah, with my bow, and I killed those on some WMAs out in Central Kentucky. But yeah, my goal this year is just to kill another heavy horn deer, man. I'm after it. That's what I'm about, and just continue to learn that property. When you think you have things figured out, you're starting back at square one.
That's right. My dad, when I was a kid, I'll never forget this. What he said. He said, "Brandon, whenever you think you've figured out the answers, the deer will change the questions."
Yeah.
Because see, they've changed your questions now.
Yeah.
What they're doing this year is not the same.
Yeah.
As they did last year.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is my first go around at my farm, so I'm sure it'll be. But even the small acreage that I hunt at home, they're doing different things this year.
Yeah.
And it's all got to do with so many factors. Like, we've been in a really, really fairly heavy drought in Kentucky this year. Just the whole year and as a whole. And just the creek beds are dry, and all the things in nature are just different. They're not exact every year. So there's something dropping. They're eating out there. I'm hoping the bucks are not just moving because it's been fairly hot all year here. I mean, it was in the 80s in our opener in the first September. And, today is feels like a winter day compared to the past of this month, and it's a high of 74, I think.
Yeah.
But it's overcast, and there's been a front, so we think today will be fruitful.
Now, we did find some feed trees on the property.
Yeah, there's a lot of acres.
But by the time you find that, it's almost gone. Mm-hmm. And they've moved on to another feed tree. And it's like you've got a constant, and where we live so far away, it's hard to stay on top of it.
Yeah.
So that's the goal early season, to find what they're eating.
Yeah.
You know?
Like he said, basically get educated, man. The big goal for me this year is just to acquire as much knowledge about this as I can. You know, I listen to so many talking heads, and I try to take a little bit from everyone, and no matter who I listen to, it seems everyone does it a certain way. But nothing beats going out and just being mindful of what's going on and learning your place, being mindful of what your deer are doing and what they're not doing, and just try our best to put ourselves in the best odds to get it done.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that pretty much, in a nutshell, concludes what we wanted to accomplish today. We hope everyone out there is enjoying deer season, enjoying everything that goes along with deer season.
Oh, just a real quick point.
Yeah.
Talking about this hurricane that just passed through that hit Florida and the more southern states.
Yeah.
We got some heavy winds. I'm talking 50 to 70 mile an hour winds. So all you deer hunters out there needs to get out and check your stuff.
Oh,
because
yeah.
any roads that you use for access may have trees across it.
Yeah.
And you don't want to run up on that and have a bad morning. Get out with a chainsaw, get out and clear all your roads. Make sure that your trees with your tree stands are solid. Like, just make sure that you get all that stuff done before it's go time for you.
That's really good advice, because I heard a couple trees when we were doing a camera at home. I heard 2 trees fall in about 10 minutes time.
Yeah.
A couple days ago.
Yeah. It's scary, honestly.
It is, man. It is. Weather is a big deal in this. How much is debatable. One person says it's all about the barometers. It's all about the barometric pressure. One guy says it's about the temperature. One guy says it's all different.
Listen, a deer is going to be a deer.
That's right.
And
we try to put them in a box.
The thing that hunters struggle with, myself included, is we try to have a human factor.
We do. And they're not
and deer
human.
are not human.
I know.
They don't think like we do. They don't do like we do. So just when we think we've got the human element figured out, that's what I'm saying. You're starting all back over because that don't exist.
Yeah, man. And someone said it best. Sometimes deer just do what deer do because they're wired to do it.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I'll say this, for instance. A whitetail buck, let's say you've got a good deer that you're a hit list deer.
Yeah, 130-inch plus deer.
That deer will do deer business until you change his mind.
Correct.
So, and that goes with your wind, that goes with pressure.
His bedding area.
Yeah. You may have a deer coming down his trail that he travels every day.
Yeah.
You know, and he may catch your scent one day, and then he starts to change.
Yeah.
And instead of coming down this trail, he may come down a trail to the left of it.
Yeah.
And he may stop for 20 or 30 minutes and wait on the thermals to shift, so he's got an advantage to himself to where he can smell before he goes there.
Yeah.
Whereas before he realized there was a threat, he just goes about his deer business.
Yeah.
It's
kind of like, for me, a scenario similar to that would be like, hey, I'm walking into work, and all of a sudden, you know, there's a big stick laying by the front door, so I go around it. It's like, you know, he's just living his life, doing his thing, and we're trying our best to crack that code, and we simply can't. But it's best to play the wind, most importantly. Eliminate the odor the best you can, and try to put yourself in the best position to get lucky.
Because in general, like we just said, just to kind of briefly sum it up, a deer is living just like we do. A deer is living.
That's right.
Until he has a reason to go into survival mode.
That's right.
And if he picks up that you're a threat,
hunting pressure, etc.
Yeah. Like you just astronomically put the odds in his favor.
Yes. And they are to such a high degree already.
Yeah.
You know, once deer hunters hit the woods in gun season, everything changes. That's why my dad has always really put a lot of focus on October 15th to Halloween, because that's a magical time of year where the testosterone levels are rising in bucks and they're doing their pre-rut thing. And it's a good time to get in the woods because hunting pressure in general is low. There's way more rifle hunters and gun hunters than there are bow hunters.
Mm-hmm.
And the woods can be a magical time late October.
Yeah.
And that's really where I'm at.
Yeah.
I'm focusing on that this year, which I hope I don't have a tag in October. Hopefully I feel it today. But I'm just saying, the more you're in there pre-gun season, you are exponentially raising the odds for you as a deer hunter because there is way less pressure. The deer are not near as jittery, and it's a really good time to score.
Yeah.
Well, that pretty much concludes the episode today. We hope everyone here has enjoyed the show, meeting us, meeting our channel, getting familiar with us. We hope everyone is buckled in tight for deer season. Everybody's as excited as we are. We are on social media platforms. We invite everyone to like and subscribe everything to get connected for future episodes and content. Ricky Kyle will for sure be offering gear demos and the like.
Yeah, we'll put a link to the link tree down in the description below on the podcast. But also, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And in all the descriptions of those channels is the link tree. So when you go to that link tree, all you have to do is just click on the link that you want to go to, and please like, share, and subscribe to all of it.
There you go, guys. Get connected, get stuck in, as they say. And until then, Eastern Wild is out.